Hello, my name is Steve McCorkle, and I'm founder and CEO of Ag Waste Solutions, or AWS. And I'm very pleased to be able to spend some time with you today talking about how to scale the production of carbon negative biochar and jet fuel to address some major social, environmental, and financial challenges we face in the world today. This shows our suite of product solutions and our site at the Scott Brothers Dairy Farm in Southern California. And we partner with industry leaders to provide next generation technology solutions to the problems and issues of today, as well as the issues of tomorrow. And producing these valuable carbon negative products of biochar and the cleanest burning diesel and jet fuels in the world. So I'd like to cover a few of our major milestones since 2009. First of all, in 2009, we obtained the first ever South Coast Air Quality Management District full operating permit for the pyrolysis of biomass. Then in 2015, we basically produced the first ever sulfur-free Fischer-Tropsch diesel and jet fuel from manure, and still we hold that accomplishment of being the only one in the world who has done that. In 2016, we were invited to the White House to accept a Global Challenge Award in nutrient recycling. And then I missed this one in 2013. The AWS project at Scott Brothers Dairy basically enabled the 26 dairies in their co-op group to renew their CAFO operating permits for another 5 years, otherwise which would have shut them down by the Regional Water Quality Board. So what are the major issues and opportunities we face today that we can utilize these next generation technology solutions to help cause? So the major problem in agriculture and aviation is their greenhouse gas emissions. And the man-made climate change in general topic is both a cause and an effect of a looming crisis in our food supply. So basically, for excess manure and organic ag residuals, we've got too much in some places, too little in other places, and no good way to move them around to the right places. Yet the food nutrition levels are declining in the last 60 years because we're not putting the fertilizers in the right place and we're not taking care of our soils. Aviation travel creates the highest greenhouse gas emissions per passenger mile of any form of transportation. It's about 4 times that of automobiles, and flying that much closer to the ozone has a very damaging effect on the ozone. Our soil carbon levels are declining from an average of about 5% pre-industrial revolution to only 1% today, and that's causing a lot of issues with our topsoil in general, some of the industrial farming techniques that are causing us to lose that topsoil and converting what used to be healthy soils all over the world into basically dead dirt. And if we do nothing to change this trend, we'll have no arable land left to farm by the year 2080. So what are the solutions? We believe the best solution is to regenerate these excess ag residuals into carbon negative biochar and jet fuel to both create healthy soils and achieve carbon neutrality for both of these major industries of agriculture and aviation. And if we can raise the carbon levels of our ag soils from 1 to 3%, we can basically reverse all of the man-made climate change effects since the Industrial Revolution in a period of 10 years. So this is a call to action. This shows the standard carbon biochar benefits that most of you are very familiar with. I'm not going to go through these. I'm just going to inject it at this point to show a basis of comparison to the nutrient biochar that we will be producing and are producing now from manure-derived and other high nutrient organic sources. Here we're starting to differentiate the AWS solution from other solutions that you may be more familiar with. The major point being that we avoid the carbon emissions from waste streams like manure that typically cause greenhouse gas emissions when they anaerobically decay, either purposefully or just from storage. So we regenerate what would be those carbon emissions by processing the waste at its freshest point and getting the highest conversion of waste carbon into value-added product carbon. We do that through a closed-loop zero-waste system that we'll talk about a little bit later, but it also produces other value-added products. This is the AWS carbon regeneration cycle that we have deployed at the Scott Brothers Dairy Farms. Starting with circle 1 here at the top, basically the cows eat the healthy food crops grown with AWS biochar. They excrete liquid and solid manure. We separate through the process the liquids from the solids. We mix the solids from the separation with the corral manure and other solids to send into the pyrolysis process to produce biosyngas and biochar. We then clean the biosyngas and condition it to produce jet fuel and parasitic energy for the site. We then convert it in number 6 here to jet and diesel fuel. Then in number 7 circle, we add those biochar and fertigation waters back to the soils to create healthy soils. The diesel fuel goes to the farm equipment to power the farm equipment. The jet fuel goes to a refinery for the aviation industry. And then in number 8, the cycle basically starts again. So the zero waste carbon regeneration cycle goes over and over again. This shows the various inputs, outputs, and flexibility of the system to generate higher profits with multiple carbon negative product options. So we can accept a variety of organic feedstock types, really any and all feedstock types. We produce a valuable water for the farm or potable water. Cows drink a lot of water, for example, so we can even provide drinking water from their manure. This shows the inputs and outputs of items like peripheral items like AD biogas and anaerobic digester gas, landfill gas, any type of stranded or waste gas stream, and then these multiple product options to produce flexibility and higher profits, basically. So our basic financial goal of any of these projects is to return an EBIT type of return on capital employed, ROCE, of greater than 28%. Most of the larger projects will be quite a bit higher than that, but that's kind of our minimum level for projects. Okay, so what's so cool about AWS's nutrient-enriched biochar? Well, first of all, hardly anyone else is making it, so that makes it pretty cool in and of itself. But it's a great feedstock. Manure is clean, chemically consistent. It's very, very predictable. It doesn't have municipal or other contaminants in it, so it makes a very high quality biochar and a lower cost jet fuel. We follow a very true pyrolysis process that forms the biochar matrix properly and locks in the valuable nutrients. It's a very biologically inert substance. It makes it easy to store. It has no shelf life. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions from soils between 55 and 73% as compared to raw manure and digestate. But basically, it's the best use of available nutrients from the carbon or from the raw manure, nutrients and carbons from the raw manure. This shows the comparison of AWS manure-derived biochar with carbon biochar from retailers in terms of nutrients, both macro and micronutrients. So the AWS biochar is shown in green And you can see the other commercially available biochars are shown in other colors. And in pretty much all of these circumstances, except for one down here, the nutrient concentration of the AWS biochar is far superior to the carbon-only biochars. We've done a series of greenhouse and field trials with biochar, so for the horticultural as well as for the big ag type of applications. We've had some very impressive results on the horticultural side with a 27% increase in biomass tissue from butter lettuce and 22% increase in kale in only 6 weeks of growth time. We're studying some of the longer term effects now, but in terms of big ag, we have a 450 tree, almond tree planting using AWS biochar and an inoculant in a large orchard of 8,000 trees. It's about 2 years old right now, but we're already seeing thicker crowns and trunks in the AWS trees, which should be indicative of better fruiting and nut results by 2022. Our first growth trials were with a master gardener at her home, basically with and without AWS biochar, using steer manure as kind of the control, and the same plants in the side-by-side comparisons. Here's a picture using agave. This master gardener also won the Garden of the Month award one time, and when she was opening her house to all these other master gardeners, with her backyard just full of these beautiful tropical plants. She got a lot of questions about the tropical plants and the fact that they were doing so well in the environment that they couldn't seem to get their plants to do well in. And they said, "What is your secret?" And she said, "Biochar." And they said, "What are you talking about? That stuff isn't any good for these kind of plants. And in fact, we've actually seen negative results." She said, "No, it's not any kind of biochar. It's a very special kind of biochar." More side-by-side trials. Yet more side-by-side trials with mixed plants. And photographs of some of our controlled greenhouse trials, as well as an exhibit we did at the Orange County Fair. When we add AWS biochar to compost for big ag type of applications, we get a very synergistic combination of benefits. So 1 + 1 = 3 type of benefits. So you can see in the intersection here of the Venn diagrams that the benefits we get from the combination are much better than the individual benefits from both of the contributing substrates. So the right kind of carbon biochar, not manure biochar, can also be used as a very effective animal feed treatment. We've seen a lot of fantastic results from overseas in terms of benefits to animal health, growth patterns or growth increases without hormone use, increases in milk and volume and quality, reductions in calf mortalities, reductions in antibiotic use, and reductions in enteric emissions. So biochar can be used as a feed supplement to reduce enteric emissions, and it can be used in the corral manure where the animals live and excrete to reduce the emissions and the odors of the corral manures, which could be very, very substantial when you're looking at the total picture. The California dairy industry is in a crisis with regulations and milk pricing and all kinds of issues. It's a huge industry. It's the biggest dairy state in the country. Yet until 2015, there were only 20 operating manure to energy systems operating in 2015. Today, there are over 120 either planned or currently operating. And of course, these generate a very high percentage of the California methane emissions. And part of the problem here with the emissions is that the anaerobic digester only converts about 50% of the carbon to methane. The other 50% is left in the digestate material for the farmers to deal with. That's where AWS wants to come in and deal with that digestate material and convert it into value-added carbon negative products of biochar and jet fuel. So why is this AWS carbon negative jet fuel from manure? What makes it so unique and special? Well, this kind of shows how it's unique and why it's unique. So we're showing the carbon cycle here, the regular carbon cycle, the biochar cycle, and then the effect of carbon negative jet fuel on that cycle. So basically it all comes down to the carbon intensity of the two fuels. So petroleum jet fuel is about plus 100. The carbon intensity of our manure derived jet fuel will be about minus 400. So the net effect of that is a 500% net carbon drawdown when a plane is flying from AWS manure derived jet fuel versus petroleum derived jet fuel. This is an illustration of a sustainable collaboration at the Scott Brothers Dairy with a major California-based composting company to actually build a compost center on the farm to take some of the waste from local haulers, farmers, composters, and integrate them with the high value waste from manure and green waste and wood waste and food waste to produce a value-added carbon negative product that scales up on the value chain here for reuse. We unfortunately don't have time to go through the whole industry of the landfill diversion of organics in California. I just want to mention that it's a huge potential for AWS revenue and profits to generate jet fuel and biochar. The size of that industry is almost $6 billion per year. AWS chose to operate its first sites in California because it is considered one of the most difficult regulatory environments in the world. And so we knew if we could do it here, we could pretty much do it anywhere. So to meet those difficult environmental and human health standards, which we considered to be superior, we designed our next generation solutions accordingly. And we want to work very closely with our partners in the regulatory environment to ensure that our solutions in fact do help them meet the same environmental and human health goals that we're all interested in meeting together. AWS will partner with industry leaders to implement standard franchise service solutions for each farm type and animal species, customized to regional conditions. Scott Brothers is a model project for a dairy farm following this same kind of service solution practice. We encourage profit sharing participation programs with our farm partners, and we've developed standard size equipment modules that will adapt and scale to the most challenging farm environments. Today we discussed many reasons why the AWS next generation technology and business model solution can address the profound challenges we face globally. AWS has the passion, experience, education, expertise, relationships, and partnerships to affect real change and make viable solutions become a reality. At the end of the day, the creation of profit centers from regenerating high greenhouse gas emission waste streams into healthy soils, healthy foods, and a healthy environment will benefit all of us. It's been an honor and a pleasure to spend this time with you today. I appreciate your time and your interest in the topic. I'm sorry that we have run out of time and have to stop now, but I will be available during the Q&A session this afternoon to answer any questions or comments that you might have. So please spend some time looking through the slides and bring your questions this afternoon, and I look forward to talking to you then.